In this video we'll be looking at how to generate heat maps for your Team Fortress 2 levels using a tool rather unintuitively called Coldmaps, created by Tails 8521. To get started you will need to download Coldmaps application. There's a link to that in the description. It's on Tails' GitHub. You will also need some server-side source TV demo files from your map being played. If you are testing on TF2maps.net servers, these are automatically created as standard and can be downloaded from their feedback site. If you are testing on any other server, you will need to arrange with the server admin in order to get those recorded for you and then enable you to download them. Final thing you'll need is a level overview screenshot. To take these, load up your level in-game and use the command cl level overview in the console. This is a cheat, so you'll need SB sheets 1 and then CL level overview. The number is the zoom level. Lower numbers are a closer zoom and bigger numbers are a further away zoom. So with 1 it's really quite close, so you'll probably want something like 5 or higher. I know that for this example I'm going to want 5 because that allows me to fit the whole map within the area of my screen. Getting the perfect level overview screenshot can be tricky because while the view is top down, it actually uses the standard first person controls, so I find it almost impossible to do. So the best thing that I can suggest is setting it back to 0, which pops you back into first person, then moving to an area you think will work best. I'm just going to use no clip for this. So this is the center line of my map down here. So if I pop level overview on here, go back to there, I can see that my map is fairly well centered. I'm actually losing the bit at the top, so I'm going to move back up there, just around here. Let's try here, and then I'm going to go back into 5, and that looks good. I've got the area at the bottom of the screen that's not being cut off, and I've got the area at the top of the screen, so I'm going to use this. Once you're happy with this, you can fine-tune it. Because this is a horizontal slice through the level, you might end up with a situation where you just have rooftops if you're too high, or if you are lower than something, you might have areas that are missing. Let me just illustrate that. Using the swim up and swim down keys while you're either spectating or using no clip, you can move the player up or down without changing their X and their Y positions. So if I move down, you can see that I've now got this big void in the center of my image, where there is actually playable space there. So I definitely want my character to be higher than that. But if I move all the way up, you can see that all of my buildings are now just rooftops, which is I guess it works, but there's more detail that we can see there. So I'm going to find a nice middle ground like that. Once you have something like this, pop in get pos, and that will give you some coordinates. We're going to want to make a note of these where it says set pos. You want to copy those. For mine, 26 and 27 are very close to 0, and if I actually adjust these to be 0, then the map image will be better centered. And 199 is close enough to 200 that I'm just going to do set pos 0, 0, 200, and that will just tidy up my coordinates and make them a bit easier to remember. And lastly, you will want to disable your HUD, CL draw HUD 0, and then take a screenshot. Okay, so now I have all the components necessary. I've got my screenshot, I've got my demo files, and I've got the Coldmaps application. And we can actually open that up. And then you will want to drag your 3 demo files. Well, I've got 3. You might have more or less. Any number of demo files that you have, you can drag them up here, into this box up here. And then you drag your screenshots into this box here. And now we're almost set up. There's these 2 boxes here, which are your X and your Y coordinates of your screenshot. So when we used get pos, and it told us the numbers, for me the first 2 numbers were 0, 0, but for you, you'll need to use whatever you were given by get pos. And then in this red box, you need to put in the number that you used after level overview. So if like me, you put in CL level overview 5, you just need to put in 5 here, and that will calibrate your heat map. So now I have a fully finished heat map, and I could export this as an image now, or I could do some further adjustments or dig deeper into the data. So I think actually I tend to prefer heat maps that have a more diffuse blobby shape. I think that looks more appealing, rather than the really small dots. You can get the small dots and get the really accurate information, but I find that's not as easy to understand where the problem areas are. If you enlarge the radius. You can also adjust the intensity if you need to. If it's blowing out, you can drag that down and get a much softer image. I'll leave that on automatic for now. It has these three options here. Heat map type, you can put in victim positions, killer positions, and then lines. I find lines is a bit messy. Unless you're applying some other filters, lines is not particularly useful information. The blue is the killer and the yellow is the victim, I believe. So if I look at the killer positions, I can see that this area here in the middle is really powerful once held, because there's lots of killer deaths there and there's not as many victims. So it looks like that area is slightly harder to attack and slightly easier to defend. There are also filters. I find these incredibly useful for showing different information. So the most basic one is the red or blue team, which will show you team-sided imbalance. There's also death property, which has sentry kills, so you can see these, because I've got it on victim position, these are the areas where players are dying to sentries. And if I swap to killer position, these are the sentries that's killing them. This is where lines is actually really useful, because we had these two spots here where there were victims and there were killers for the sentries. But when it's just the blobs, right, there's some ambiguity over whether this sentry or this sentry is killing the players that are over here. But if we switch it to lines, we can see exactly that this sentry here is killing the players over here. And while there was one death over here from this sentry is attacking a whole different category of players. So the lines is really useful there. What else can we see? We can see elevation. This one is really useful. So we set it to victims elevation. That brings us back to everything because it hasn't got a value in it. But in this map I've got two floors and they are stacked vertically. So I really wanted to be able to see the kills that are happening at the top and the kills that are happening at the bottom. So if I select this greater than and put in 50, because I know that the level of the floor is about 60. So if I put it at 50, I'm going to get everything that's above it, and I'm not going to get the players that are below it. So here I can see only the top floor, and if I flip this around to being less than, I can see only the bottom floor. So this is what's happening on the map. There's actually in the screenshot, and then this is what's happening in the level that actually was cut off in my screenshot. We also have classics like the Killer's class, so you can see anywhere that snipers are wreaking havoc. With this one, it's not really too much of a problem. This blob down here, it looks big, but if I scale down the dots, you can see that it's actually only 3 dots. So I'm not encountering any particular problem areas for snipers on this one. You can also see other areas, the demoman areas, or the pyro areas. There's a good mix of everything in this map at the moment. But if you had any problem areas, you could see them like this. So that's more or less it. That's how you make your heat maps using Coldmaps. Go out there and learn something about your map. If you found this interesting or useful, please let me know in the comments below. I'm still interested in making more explainer or tutorial videos like this, covering similar topics relating to Team Fortress 2 level design. So if you have any topics that you would like me to cover specifically, please let me know as well. Thank you.